Well, hello there, and in this video we'll be looking at Greenland and we'll be giving the best beginner tips to be able to identify the island as well as narrow which part of the island you are on. There will be also future videos of Greenland tips, so feel free to keep an eye out on the channel, as well as GeoCookies, because he'll be releasing some Greenland content as a collaboration. And feel free to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy this video, and yeah, let's jump right into this. My very first tip I would give beginners for identifying Greenland is by using the compass. The best way to use the compass is by looking at the sun, and if the sun is to the south, you are in the northern hemisphere, which confirms Greenland, as well as other places along the Arctic Circle that look similar to Greenland. So that includes northern Canada, Iceland, far north Norway, and somewhat northern Russia. And also you can use the shadows, and if the shadows are pointing north, so this is the opposite of when looking at the sun, you're also in the northern hemisphere. Another useful tip for beginners is to look at the scenery and terrain of Greenland. The main thing I can say about Greenland in terms of its environment, it is quite hilly. Like, you're very unlikely going to get around where it's super flat, and as well as that, you tend to see the coastline nearby unless you're in like one of the largest cities. And also there tends to be quite a lot of small icebergs present a lot more often in Greenland. Another clue I use is the actual spacing of the houses. So if you look at the environment, the houses are so randomly spaced, and this is different to like Iceland and the Faroes. So this could be a good way of narrowing it down. And also it's quite rare to have a Google car in Greenland to have racks. And this is like the only example that you can get in Greenland with racks, and they look very different to the ones in the Faroe Islands. If you know which island this is with this Google car meta, feel free to comment down below. Probably one of the most important ones that everyone tends to forget is using Street View to be able to narrow which parts of Greenland have coverage and which ones do not. And if we look at Greenland's Street View footage, we can clearly tell that there is not much footage at all on the island, and the vast majority of it is on the coastline. There's virtually no coverage in the middle of Greenland, so there's no point plonking in the middle of Greenland. And you can also tell that the footage is more common on the west coast than it is on the east coast. And if you're wondering where the most footage is in given areas, the best places are main cities and towns on the map. So Nuuk is the capital of Greenland, and that has a lot of footage, and it is the most urban town in Greenland. So if in doubt, go Nuuk. But you also get quite a lot around Disco Island, which is here, and you also get a bit of coverage down here, and you get some little hot spots along the east coast as well. If you're curious of where you would find trekkers only, or just normal official Google car or quad bike coverage, the best thing to use is this island. This island helps separate the line of how far north quad bikes and Google cars can go. If we draw a line from Jan Mayen straight across Greenland, anything above that line can only be trekker or boat. So anything south of the line for Jan Mayen can have Google cars or quad bikes. Probably the most important one to learn is the different type of metas you can get. One example is Google cars, and this is the example of one at Nuuk. But you do get 5 different Google cars in Greenland, and here is the distribution map on the west coast, and there is 2 just at the south tip of Greenland. So if you have a Google car, you are never on the east side of Greenland. And there are a lot more quad bikes than Google cars, but you get the vast majority on the west coast. But you do get a few on the south, and you do get a few on the east. So it is best to learn the quad bikes, which will be talked about in future videos on mine and Cookie's channel. Also, Cookie is making a video on the different cars of Greenland, so feel free to check out that video in the description down below. Another useful meta is the boats. So you get quite a lot of different types of boats in Greenland, and this is an example of one at Ilulissat. But you do get a wide range of different boats that only appear in one specific place or appear on only one stretch of coastline. But I'll be talking about that in a future video. We also have other useful meta that we can use to narrow things down in Greenland very quickly, such as seeing a helicopter and another one will be the digger meta on our unique island. It is also important to practice on maps. One of the things that I did with the quad bikes, I just practiced loads of times until I was getting them right all the time. Me and Cookie have made maps for different Greenland meta. So we have a map for the quad bike, we have a map for the cars, we have a map for different boats. So feel free to give those a go in the description, but also be aware that we will be talking about this in future videos. So yeah, in terms of future content, we have got the different types of metas. So Cookie will be covering cars, I will be covering west side quad bikes, whereas Cookie will be doing the east and south. I'll be covering all of the boats, and Cookie will be sharing some extra tips that are quite useful to narrow things down in Greenland. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. I hope this is a quick, helpful video. There'll be more detailed videos in the coming days. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, feel free to drop a like and comment below. And if you want to keep up to date with the channel, feel free to subscribe to my channel, but also check out Cookie's channel whilst you're at it too. Yeah, of course.